Greetings, YouTubers. This is a response to old Aunt Caca. Excuse me, I mean FKASG9SSM. And if you remember, some time ago, I slapped her down on her. She was complaining about state attorneys general suing Hussein Obamacare, and he or whatever it is over there was wringing its hands over the taxpayer dollars that were going to be wasted. And I showed a whole bunch of fraud involved in government programs and wasted money, which dwarfs anything he would come up with. And we're going to do this again here and have some new material. So when FKA, whatever it is, comes up with something about whining about state attorneys general wasting money, you can point this out to him. I'll have all 9 stories in a row underneath the video in order. Story number 1. In spite of supporting regulations that will force all Americans to switch out old light bulbs for more expensive new ones, the old incandescent bulb will be illegal in 2012. It seems that the DOE, Department of Energy, itself finds that it's too much trouble and too expensive to adopt the latest energy-saving technologies. An audit of 96 buildings by the department's Inspector General reveals, for the most part, sites did not use or made limited use of innovative lighting technologies developed in the department's own research laboratories. The DOE is not even availing itself of the technologies that, as part of its mission, it helped create. The primary impediment was a lack of resources. In other words, the energy savings were too expensive. Great, you can't practice what they preach. That's efficient government for you. Story number 2. A recent Inspector General's report found problems with the way NOAA's Office of Law Enforcement spent money raised through fines and penalties on fishermen. The money collected through the Asset Forfeiture Fund can be used to pay for expenses directly related to investigations in civil or criminal proceedings. But the IG's report found clear misuse of the fund. For example, NOAA has used some of the money from penalties and fines paid by fishermen to buy cars and boats, even though there is no policy authorizing such purchases. And I think there were a few Democrat congressmen from Massachusetts raising heck about this. I think Bonnie Flank was one of them. Tierney was the other one, if I remember right. Story number 3. According to the GAO, the federal government helped pay the home air conditioning bills for more than 11,000 dead people, 1,100 federal employees, because we know they're underpaid, yeah, and 725 convicts in fiscal year 2009. The payments were made by a $5 billion program known as the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. The GAO examined the program in 7 states: Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, New York, Illinois, Michigan, and New Jersey. The agency found evidence of fraud in each state. About 260,000 applications, 9% of households receiving benefits in the selected states, contained invalid identity information such as social security numbers, names, or dates of birth. Story number 4. Since 2008, U.S. taxpayers have contributed more than, this is a good use of money, right? Contributed more than $60 grand for research to study the prevalence of water pipe or hookah smoking among college students in Jordan. The research was paid for by the Fogarty International Center and the National Cancer Institute, both of which are elements of the United States U.S. National Institutes of Health. Great use of money there. That's not a waste. Story number 5. In the latest of many scandals involving Hussein Obama's fraud-infested stimulus, tens of millions of taxpayer dollars have been spent on road signs declaring that the disastrous program is putting Americans back to work, despite the fact that the real unemployment rate is over 16% now, and this time last year it was over 16% after the stimulus. Okay. On the road leading to Dulles Airport outside Washington, D.C., a 10,000 sign touts a $15 million project that supposedly created 17 jobs. Illinois spent around $650 grand on about 950 stimulus signs, and Pennsylvania dropped $157 grand on 70 signs. Tennessee only spent a little under 13 grand because their signs were the size of speed limit warnings. So that's great. That's not a waste. Story 6. The National Institutes of Health has awarded over $181,000 this year to a researcher at the University of Kentucky to study how cocaine enhances the sex drive of Japanese quail. Oh my gosh. Story number 7. That's not a waste of money though, is it? The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services actually gave a Maryland college professor whose research focuses on mind-body medicine and self-healing over $410,000 to explain how Chinese meditation helps cocaine addicts. What are we spending all this time helping these druggies? Oh. Story number 8. This is ridiculous. The National Institute on Drug Abuse, a component of the National Institutes of Health, has so far awarded $1.44 million in federal funds to a project that, among other things, is estimating the size of the population and examining the social milieu of male prostitutes in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. That's a good ridiculous. You go through enough of these and it just boggles your mind. The URL for this story comes up as expired, but I did copy some of the story, and I'll read the relevant portion to you. This is number 9. Nearly 1,300 prison inmates wrongly received more than $9 million in tax credits for home buyers, despite being locked up when they claimed they bought a home, a government investigator reported recently. The investigator said 241 of the inmates were serving life sentences. In all, more than 14,100 taxpayers wrongly received at least $26.7 million in tax credits that were meant to boost the nation's slumping housing markets, said the report by J. Russell George, the Treasury Department's Inspector General for Tax Administration. Some taxpayers received the credit for homes purchased before the tax break was started. This is redistribution of income, using Peter's money to help Paul get a house, and Paul in this case was a convict. In other cases, multiple taxpayers improperly used the same home to claim multiple credits. Investigators found that one home was used by 67 taxpayers to claim credits. So when you hear this FKASG9SSM puke whining about misuse of taxpayer funds, you can reference this video and the one I did previously, like a month or so ago, refuting his contentions about that. And as an aside, FKA, when I look at your ugly face, this is what I think of. Well, not the whistle. Have a nice day.